Welcome once again to How to Relate to Anyone. Here is Dr. Orv Owens.
Well, hello again. We've got a lesson today that you're probably not going to enjoy that much, but it's something you deal with, if you're in a leadership role especially, on a regular basis. I don't care who you hire, there's going to be times when this situation is going to come up. And so this is pertinent and hopefully valuable to you in dealing with your employees, especially when they become toxic or caustic. And that's easy for me to say. Toxic relationships or caustic relationships. And I want to deal with toxic first, and then we'll go to caustic. Not easy for me to say, I guess. You've said this, I'm sure you've said this. I just can't stand being around that person. They just rub me the wrong way. I feel like I've been beat up after I've talked to them for a little while. And I pause right there because you thought about 3 or 4 people that you see on a regular basis that do that to you. Why? Why in the world do they have to be so nasty all the time? Or there are people, or maybe even you, that once in a while drop into this little thing. Get out of here, you know, that kind of thing. We all do, actually. But there are some people who live there. And so we will look at toxic first of all. Toxic is a person who is continually negative, spitting out negatives, foul language, put downs, threats. That's the way they live. That's just part of who they are. They live what we call below the line. You remember the above the line, below the line? They live below the line most of the time. They're negative about everything. Beautiful sky today. What do you mean? That's lousy. They're just that way. Why? Well, first of all, in most cases, they have such an inferiority complex that they are in a defensive posture all the time. They're continually defending who they are, their thoughts, their values, their wants, their needs. Me, me, me. They're the opposite of what we call love motivation, which is giving without expecting anything in return. Everything they do expects something in return. They're fault finders. See, if I put you down, I build me up. Doesn't really happen, but I think it does, and so it becomes habitual. There are people who find fault with everything and anything. And they're just negative all the time. Now, I'm not talking about putting you down, but putting things down. That's a lousy color car you have. That kind of stuff. They have a demanding attitude. You know, get over here. Sit down. Shut up. I do that real well. My dad grew up in the Nassau, Washington area where it's logging community, and everybody there talks that way. And so my dad had most of his life working on getting over that Nassau talk of put downs and tough. Chew nails and spit rust. That was one of his favorite sayings. Tough. Strong language. Used a lot of profanity or words that are almost profanity. And they don't care who's around. They don't care what the situation is or circumstance. They just blast off whenever they feel like blasting off. Now the danger is having that kind of person on your staff in a working relationship, and they're constantly putting people down, and people can only be put down so often, or hearing negatives all the time. The sky's always gray. Well, we live in the Northwest, and it is, but for the rest of the world, we don't need people who are continually taking shots at whatever. And they find a certain amount of personal elevation or recognition of who they are as a person by finding fault. You don't want to ask them, what do you think of the color of my car? Because they'll tell you negatively that it's going to fade with the sunshine, and you're going to be sorry you got that. That's hard to keep clean. They find fault with everything. They're fault finders. And they use that strong language to even make it stronger. So destroying working relationships happens when this guy over here says, I've had enough of Joe. I've had enough. Get rid of him or I quit. And that's when productivity starts being affected by these kind of attitudes. You have to recognize a toxic attitude and choose not to be influenced by it if it's on a peer level. But if you're in a leadership role, you just don't accept it. It doesn't happen here. You take them off in a room by themselves and say, do you enjoy working here? Well, up to now, there are some things that I don't like, whatever. Whatever the response is, it doesn't really matter. Well, if you'd like to continue working here, you're going to have to change your attitude. You have a tendency to find fault with everything in the world. Negative, negative, negative comments. I want you for the next 10 days to not make one negative comment, or if you make a negative comment, make 2 positive comments. 2 for 1. Every time. And I'm going to be watching. If you can't do that, we're going to have to let you go because your negative attitude is pulling other people down. And it's hurting our productivity. It's causing us to not produce what we can produce, be what we can be. I want my people coming to work to look forward to coming to work rather than dread to have put up with you all day. And you have to be that strong with this person because they're that strong in reverse. So you have to work on your attitude and look for positives rather than negatives. Can you do that? If you don't feel you can do that, then maybe you better resign and go find another job because we can't have this. It's hurting our teamwork. It's called a toxic relationship, caustic projection. And you get tired of hearing all the negatives all the time. I don't know, maybe fell on his head when he was a little boy. I don't know what happened to this guy, but he's been fighting the world ever since. The other is caustic attitude, and a caustic attitude is an attack on people. Instead of attacking the weather, you attack the people. I have a good friend who calls me uglier than me. He says, "Hey, uglier than me, get over here." I've talked about him in other lessons. My friend Bob. That's a caustic attitude. People say, "How can you put up with that guy?" You have to consider the source, and I just let it roll off my back, so to speak. But most people won't. Most people will be offended when they're put down, when people take shots at them. So a caustic attitude is used to put down people. We're not looking for talking about the bad weather, talking about stupid idiot over there who we have to put up with every day. That kind of talk. They use one-upmanship to make sure they are above whoever they're putting down. Like my friend Bob. "Hey, uglier than me, get over here." And I come. I'll let somebody else decide whether I'm really uglier than him. But anyway, this person with this caustic attitude uses foul language to put down peers. Stupid, blah, 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 and you can put in there whatever words you would hear in your area of the world. it's just, you get tired of it. It's just hour after hour of hearing that kind of language, and everything is bad, and Joe's terrible, and Mary can't do her work, and just that's you just feel like just closing your mouth and walking away and never coming back. You don't like a relationship with this person. They are fault finders with everyone and anyone. They find fault. I mean, you mention a name to them and they'll tell you the bad part of that person, what they don't like about them. And they lie or stretch the truth to emphasize the point they're making. Most of what they say isn't even true. I know a guy who just has created a story of his life that's all fictitious. It's all not true. But he sounds like a winner. Boy, he has done some wow things. Stretch the truth. It's the worst thing you've ever seen type thing. So how do you deal with that kind of behavior when now they're focusing on you, when they call you idiot, call you stupid? If you had a brain in your head, you'd know. I hear husbands talking to their wives that way, wives talking to husbands that way, parents talking to children that way. Damaging. And the sad part is, with the children, we create this duplication of what we have projected. Your children are a whole lot like you. And if you yell and scream and paw the ground, they probably will too as an adult. So now it's not only one life that's out of whack, but now a whole another generation coming along with the same problems. When you stretch the truth on a repetitive basis, it becomes habitual. And you can't just say it's really nice. It's really big. It's especially things I've done. Yeah, I climbed that mountain. Yeah, the bragging thing. And it's all caustic. It's all negative, and it doesn't feel good. They're also very adept to getting even. I'll get you. You'll recognize the payoff. That type of attitude. And that's all you need is somebody who's looking to take a shot at you somewhere along the way. Why are they trying to take a shot at me? I just work here. Get off my back, please. Well, how do you deal with this kind of behavior? If they're on a peer level, there's really not much you can do. You just have to consider the source and tolerate it, put up with it. You don't have authority over them. They think they have authority over you, but they don't really. So you just have to tolerate it, and it's difficult to tolerate it sometimes when you're working closely with a person with this kind of attitude. It's really difficult. So what you can do is when they say, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Well, what's the wisest thing you ever heard? Ask questions. You can neutralize just about any kind of attitude with questions. You should practice questioning, because this guy, he'll talk on and on and on, and you just keep asking questions, and he keeps giving you answers, and he feels like you're just eating up everything he's saying, and you ask more questions. My friend Bob thinks he's my best friend in the world, because I let him rattle on. And what you have to do is let it go in one ear and out the other, because it doesn't make sense in many cases. It's way out of whack. But most people, maybe you included, are offended by this type of behavior, and you don't like the put downs, and why should I put up with that guy? Why should I have to Well, in a work situation, if it's on a peer level, there's not much you can do about it. The boss already sees what's happening. And consider the source. That's about all you can do, is consider the source. If you're in a management role, however, then it's time to make the corrections. You have put down Joe for the last time. If I hear it again, you're gone, and Joe gets your position. Simple as that. You have to know that you cannot put down my employees. You build them up, you don't put them down. You find positives about them, not negatives. You give compliments rather than caustic comments. And you have to be that strong. And it's either or. But I'll tell you what, you'll see productivity increase if he changes or she changes her attitude. Things will change. If you have to get rid of them, you have to get rid of them, because they're pulling the rest of people down. And when people are pulled down, they hate to go to work. They hate to put up with that kind of behavior. You know, and sooner or later they're going to either quit or ask to get promoted to a different position or move laterally, anything to get out of the environment this person is creating. They're that caustic and poisonous. Their attitude just pulls you down. And by the end of the day, you feel like you've been beat up. I mean, work is work, which means you have to put yourself into it and give it your best shot. And by the end of the day, feel that you've accomplished something, but you're tired, but it's a good tired because we accomplished all of this. What you don't need at the end of the day is, I feel like I've been put through the ringers with old Bob's attitude. Don't need that. You can't change another person's attitude. They have to change their attitude. If you're the boss, you can't order them. What you have to do is order them to work on changing their attitude. Focus on what they have to do to change their attitude, because they're not going to stop. In most cases, this stuff is habitual. They do it without even thinking about it. And what they're really trying to do is win friends and influence people. They're trying to show people how tough and how successful they are and how great they are, because that's the way they believe they have to do, or nobody will believe it. I have to sell myself. I had a trainer one time who was quite caustic, and he taught caustic behavior to salespeople. Make people feel stupid, and then they'll believe in you. Really? I don't think so. I don't think so. Somebody tries making me feel stupid, I just leave the room. Don't need this. Well, in leadership, you use your position of authority to change it, and you give him or her what they have to do, and how often they have to do it, and give them positive statements, and turn things around. Work with them. All 4 fear motivations can become caustic. You remember the relator, the appraiser, the exasperator, the fatalist. All 4 of those can be caustic at times. The exasperator is caustic most of the time. The fatalist is caustic very little of the time, unless they're in their own little circle of friends where it's their people. But even the relator will take a shot at people every so often just to keep them on their toes. Well, it destroys teamwork, creates turnover in personnel because people say, I've had it, and it affects productivity of the whole organization. In a business, you cannot afford to allow caustic or toxic behavior. Just cannot allow it to happen, because it will destroy what you're trying to gain in productivity and success and building a company, building a business.